Mr. President, for accepting our interview. It's the fourth time we are sitting together. Previously, our senior analyst, Mr. Guan, had interviewed you when you were visiting China.
Yes.
One in Shanghai and then the other two times in Beijing. It's the first time for us to have an interview with you here in Kabul. It's our pleasure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To cut it short, let me just raise the questions. Our interview will be conducted in English.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. President, we know that Afghanistan is known as the graveyard of empires. During the history, many alien powers have invaded your country and also brought conflicts and war to your country.
Yes.
Have you ever thought that your country can use this geopolitical importance and a very important position to bring wealth and stability to your country instead of bloodshed?
Well, that's a very, very good question. Indeed, the Afghan people would want to use the geopolitical position of Afghanistan, the importance of Afghanistan in this extremely significant part of the world, for the betterment of the Afghan people, for the betterment of the region. Now, history has somehow played, at times, an unfortunate game in Afghanistan. We, as you said rightly, are known as the graveyard of empires. Not because we wanted Afghanistan to be the graveyard for those empires, but because of the way those empires behaved with us. So we had to defend our country, and the consequence was the collapse of those empires. This time around, 10 years ago, the Afghan people received the United States and NATO really as liberators in the consequence of a decision by the United Nations Security Council in which all the countries participated. We were freed from Al-Qaeda and terrorism. From that day, in 2002 till today, good and bad have both happened. We have been given assistance, we have schools, we have roads, we have a better economy. Bad things have also taken place. The war against terrorism was not taken to the right place. It was fought in the Afghan villages and homes. That's not where it was in the first place. And that isn't where it is right now. The Afghan people suffered massively in this war. So we hope that Afghanistan this time will be a place where there will be a convergence of interests of all, of economic interest and of sharing of interest of major powers and the neighborhood of Afghanistan.
Talking about the neighborhood, we know that China is a very important neighbor of Afghanistan. We share the same border. To some extent, we also share a similar history. China was also invaded by alien powers. But China is a country who always shows sympathy to the weak. And in the past, China has contributed a lot to Afghanistan's peace and stability. Do you think China can contribute in a way that will be mutually beneficial for both countries?
Absolutely, and very significantly. Afghanistan views China not only as a good neighbor, as a neighbor that has been doing good for the Afghan people for long, but also as the second biggest economy of the world, as a rising superpower of the world, and a superpower that's a neighbor of Afghanistan. So Afghanistan and China have to live together. So far we have lived very well together. And we are sure that the Chinese wisdom will extend to the future as well, in the same manner. So Afghanistan and China will not only have good neighborhood relations, but relations based on economic productivity, of benefit to both sides, and of the use of resources that Afghanistan has for the industrial benefit of China, and for the improvement and betterment of the lives, the infrastructure, and the economy of Afghanistan.
Right. Let me go a little bit deeper. Let me talk about Ms. Ainak. We know that this is one of the world's largest undeveloped copper mine, and a Chinese company has obtained the rights to develop. And they happen to find an archaeology site which takes years to save it, which also means development of this copper mine could be delayed. Do you think there is a way for the development of this copper mine that everyone will be happy?
Well, we are in a hurry that this copper mine work as it has been agreed between us when we signed the agreement. We know that there is an archaeological site there. We are working that with a hurry, and it's almost near completion. So we hope that for the interest of the Chinese mining activity and the interest of the Afghan people, that this mine will be operational on time and on schedule.
Right. Okay. Let me turn to the peace talk with the Taliban. Could you share some lights on the peace talk with the government, for the government and Taliban forces? Do you think that the whole negotiation with Taliban would yield positive results in the future? Are you ready to shake hands with these guys?
Absolutely, absolutely. Those Taliban who are Afghans, who are not part of any terrorist network, and who want to come to Afghanistan, they're most welcome. I have been calling for them for an end to violence and for their return to Afghanistan for a long time. There's the Afghan Peace Council that's constantly working in this direction. So peace is a must, a necessity for any nation. So it is for Afghanistan. We are engaged with the Taliban in some form of talks, though not officially as a peace process, but we do have contacts with them. And I believe that China, as a neighbor of ours, as a major world power, and as a friend both of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and a country that all of us trust, can play a very important role in facilitating and promoting the peace process in Afghanistan.
So you're looking for a Chinese role in this process?
We have been looking for a Chinese role for a long time, and I would like to once again request a Chinese role in this regard through this interview.
All right. And also we noticed that Afghanistan is a member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Do you think Afghan's member is of great importance for the peace and stability in your country and in the region?
Yes, we are in almost the centerpiece of this region. So our participation in an organization that is the most prominent in this region and has significance for all the members of this region is important. It's good for us, and our presence in Shanghai is good for the organization.
Right. Next year will be the presidential elections and the withdrawal of foreign troops from your country. What do you expect the scenario will be after the withdrawal?
Well, there is a lot of Western media propaganda that after 2014, when the NATO forces have withdrawn, Afghanistan will be run over by the Taliban, will be unstable. That is not right. Afghanistan will be all right. Afghanistan will continue to make progress, and Afghanistan will keep on the road that it has taken. And here too, it is important for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, for Russia, for China, for India, for our neighbors, to give us a helping hand so Afghanistan will continue towards further stability and progress. So through the stability and progress of Afghanistan, the region will be stable and progressing. Therefore, I would once again call upon our neighbors, our friends in China, that 2014 should be used as an opportunity to strengthen Afghanistan and give us a hand of support that will not only keep Afghanistan stable and strong, but will make Afghanistan a country where businesses, where economic activity finds an interest and is of promotion to the region as well.
Now, you have been serving as a president for the country for about 10 years. How do you mark your worksheet? How do you judge your historical position in your country?
I think the most important legacy that I hope will be leaving for myself and the country is that during my presidency, Afghanistan once again became the home for all Afghans. All Afghans found this country to be theirs to come and participate in. Nobody needs to run away from Afghanistan. Democracy, parliament, a better economy, education, and an improvement in the standard of life, and Afghanistan emerging once again on the world stage with our flag flying around. Those are the hallmarks of my term in office.
Do you have any expectation for the new president?
Well, the new president has to keep the ball rolling, has to keep Afghanistan united, has to continue to make Afghanistan the home for all Afghans, has to continue to have good relations with neighbors and beyond.
Maybe my question is a little bit too early, but have you ever thought of where you're going after retirement?
Well, I was just before you came looking at the design of a house for me just across the road. I'll be staying here in Kabul. The Afghan government, according to the constitution of Afghanistan, will provide me a house and will provide me a salary. So I'll be here as a retired president of Afghanistan and will be living in my own country, in my own capital.
One question, another, is that we learned that your father was assassinated by Taliban and your brother was also Taliban. Do you think for those Taliban members, especially extremist Taliban fighters, is there a room that the government and those Taliban groups can sit down and talk in a peaceful manner?
We are making a general call for all those Afghan Taliban who are not part of Al-Qaeda or other terrorist networks, who are not supporting terrorist networks in the region, or are not part of those terrorist networks in the region or internationally, to come back to Afghanistan and to participate in the life of this country and not to hurt themselves or their country anymore. Now, with regard to those who have committed crimes, it's the Afghan judicial system and the Afghan people who will have to take matters up.
Right. I think I should introduce our company to you. We're a company which is private, not governmental. But our company enjoys billions of audience all over the world and also in Afghanistan. Do you have any special wishes or special words for our company, Phoenix TV?
Well, Phoenix TV is a TV watched by millions of people, and it's a good television channel. I've had 2 or 3 previous interviews with your channel. I wish you all the best. And I watch your programs too, though I don't understand the language at times, but I do watch and you're doing well.
And one last question, here in Afghanistan, as we have observed and have experienced in Kabul, the city development is not as good as people have expected, and there are some roads which are not so in a modern shape.
Yes.
Do you think the Kabul and the other rest of the Afghan cities will take a new shape in the future?
Well, Kabul has developed very well in the past 10 years economically in terms of buildings coming. Of course, not of a standard that you would want or that you would desire. The roads have a problem in Kabul, and the cities have done much better than Kabul. The other cities, the unpaved roads are all paved, or most of them paved. Kabul, because it's vast, there are over 1,000 kilometers of roads in here. The road construction is going on, but there's a lot more to be done and a lot more that we wish to be done.
Okay, let me link my experience this time. As I have told you, we were in Bamyan yesterday, and Bamyan, of course, was used to be a very important connecting point in history, which links east and west, and one very important point in Karzai.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, the Buddhas were blasted by artillery and by the Taliban. Do you think it was out of the Taliban's political pursuit or religious intolerance that they acted this kind of cultural terrorism?
I don't think it was religious, because the Buddha has been there for 1400 years since Afghanistan became Muslim. So for 1400 years the Afghans were Muslim, and there were rulers and governments here, and the Buddha was kept, and there were Muslims all around it. I am confident that the destruction of the Buddha was a political decision. Whether this was a decision by the Taliban based on the naivete that they showed, or whether this was a more complicated plot by more sophisticated hands with the Taliban, we'll hopefully someday find out.
And we had a chance to interview with Madam Governor in Madam Salabi, and we talked about cooperation between China and Bamyan and whole Afghanistan on tourism business. Would you think that the cooperation between the two countries can develop in a more effective way?
Absolutely. Afghanistan will be a great tourist destination for the Chinese visitors. This is a country that has all aspects of natural beauty, and one of the richest countries in the world in archaeological sites and history. So yes, this can be a great destination, and I would invite through you Chinese enterprise to come and invest in hotel and services in Afghanistan. They'll profit a great deal.
Probably the main concern is about the security here.
Well, it will go away. You already see that Afghanistan is a lot more secure than many countries around us. So, and as we move forward and as we cooperate together, China and Afghanistan and other neighbors, we will be a lot more stable and a lot more economically well off. So it's those who come early to invest will have the biggest of the profits.
Early bird catches the worm.
Exactly.
Thank you, President. Thank you very much.
Good to talk to you.
Me too.